Hey there, and welcome into the Mizzou Central Postgame Show right here on STL Sports Central. All content presented by DraftKings. Vic Faust, Chris Pelikan with you. Tigers win 52-10 over Louisiana. A game that was strange in a lot of different ways, Vic. The fact is, we are on about 3 hours before we were supposed to.
Thank God.
All due respect to Ron Burgundy, but it was so damn hot out there. So, yeah, game starts 3 hours before it's supposed to. If you watch the game on ESPN Plus, which I know not a lot of people have, you probably noticed a crowd that was not commensurate with their first two. But, you know, you make changes like this late in the game, and things like this happen. But, Vic, seemingly a lot of distractions and a lot of change. And what does this team do? What do? They go out there and they completely and totally dominate. I mean, it looked like a varsity team against a freshman team today. 52-10, your final score. Your thoughts on what was just a dominant afternoon in Columbia?
Yeah, first of all, great to see you again. Glad to be back. Dare I say the word perfect? No coach, no team ever wants to hear the word perfect. But considering everything you just said, Chris, dare I say that almost seemed like a perfect football game? I mean, what's there to complain about? Every coach, we got to improve. I still remember Larry Smith saying this. He's like, you either go out in the field every single day and you either get a little bit better or a little bit worse. You never stay the same, ever. Missouri got way better today. Yes, the opponent wasn't Kansas, but my gosh, they shocked me with how good they were with all the other things that you just said. And I know we'll break it down, but you said my initial thoughts. I just kept getting hit. I was like, oh, that was a perfect drive. That was perfect defense. That was perfect. That was perfect. I don't think that could have been any better. Then I start looking at the stats and I'm like, what I'm seeing as almost a perfect day is backed up by the stats. Chris, I know they don't want to hear it, but my gosh, Tiger fans, that was as damn near perfect as you're going to see.
He is former Tiger tight end and broadcaster Vic Faust. I'm Chris Pelikan. This is the Mizzou Central Postgame Show right here on STL Sports Central, folks. And as always, we invite you to jump in and join us in the YouTube chat. We'd love to have your thoughts on what Vic Faust is calling a perfect day.
What do you call it?
So our first comment of the day comes from Blaine Day. One bad play on each side of the ball.
Yeah, fair enough. Exactly. I'm like,
I couldn't agree more. So like 99% on the test. I mean, again, just one of these deals, Vic, where, you and I we did shows for the first two games. And again, each of those games, the team played far better than they didn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
We saw lots of good things. The turnover against Kansas was a tough moment and it dug them a hole that they dug their way out of. But the one thing that you and I had talked about a lot was through two games, we weren't sure about this offensive line and defensive line. Were they going to be up to the challenge of being a playoff team, right? Because again, I think we all sit here 3 weeks into the season and say, I mean, this needs to be the standard for this team. They need to make a push to be in the 12-team college football playoff. Like that is what this team looks very capable of. And I remember Howard Richards telling me, calm down about the offensive line, because there was not significant push in the running game. Ahmad Hardy still ended up getting 100 yards rushing in each of those first two games, but it seemed like he was working too hard to get those yards. What did they respond with today? I mean, this was, again, a freshman team against a varsity team. The holes were huge. The push was gigantic. On the defensive side of the ball, Louisiana, I mean, they had one play of 82 yards that accounted for 2/3 of their entire offensive output for the day. The defensive line came to play today. And, look, I know everyone's going to get in here and say, this is Louisiana, this is a Sun Belt team, blah, blah, blah. They won 10 games last year. And if you want to
returned a lot.
Yeah. And if you want to ask about whether or not mid-major teams can go in and surprise, I mean, ask Billy Napier in Florida, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, truthfully, Vic, and love your thoughts on this, I thought this thing had all the makings of a big trap game. I mean, you're playing against a pretty strong team, definitely a mid-major. But I mean, this South Carolina game sitting there a week away with game day, with the 6 or 6:30 kickoff. This is a national. I mean, the game that will define where this team really is going is sitting there 1 week away. I mean, how easy would it have been for this team to completely overlook Louisiana? Think about this. I mean, it happens all the time in college football. It happens all the time in all sports. And lo and behold, not only did they not overlook Louisiana, I mean, they buried them in every sense of the word.
I agree with what you're saying. The reason I didn't think it was going to happen was 2 words: Ahmad Hardy, because he was playing his former team. Not that there was any vitriol, any animosity, but when you play your former team, you better damn well believe they're going to be making sure it's your all. There was no way in heck Hardy and that offensive line were not going to get the best of this day. That's why I was comfortable with it. And once we saw him in the first drive and the second drive, we're like, okay, this guy's the real deal. I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder with the stats if you have them in front of you.
I got him.
You're our stats guy. You can bring. I think now is a great time to give those stats for Mr. Hardy.
All right, so Ahmad Hardy on the day, 22 carries, a mere 250 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, well over 11 yards per carry on this thing. And the funny thing about it too, Vic, and this is what I'll say about Ahmad Hardy, and we could spend an hour talking about him alone. The holes were good.
Yes.
Okay, there's no 2 ways about it. The offensive line had a great day. I can't fathom they don't grade out really well. Only 1 penalty on the line today, but I mean, they got consistent push. But Ahmad Hardy there was contact, and Ahmad Hardy fought through that the whole day. So even when the offensive line wasn't perfect today and didn't give him an 8-foot hole to run through, he found a way to get 8 yards on a play that should have been a 1-yard gain. I mean, I don't, we're 3 games in. You don't want to, and again, I mean, if we talk about, running back university, I mean, Mizzou has had guys every year since the Larry Smith era that you mentioned who have just been high level, nationally, national caliber running backs. I mean, Ahmad Hardy just looks the part of the guy who will be the next in that line. I don't want to sit here and start. I mean, maybe one of these days we can do a nice rankings of the Tiger running backs of the last 30 years. But I mean, I always love when coaches use the term, boy, he really runs behind his pads. You're kind of like, what? I don't even know what that means. If you want to know what it means, watch Ahmad Hardy. I mean, low center of gravity, the way that he takes on tacklers, the feet. I mean, a guy who weighs 220 pounds like him, he's got such light feet. Again, I don't know if there's any amount of superlatives you can give to Ahmad Hardy. And this guy looks like, I mean, they look like they found a real gem in this guy, with years of eligibility left as well.
Light feet, tree trunks for legs, smart. He's still young. He's hungry. His teammates love him. He ran for 250 yards, as you said. How about the Missouri offense? They had 427 yards of rushing. You talk about the Mizzou backs. Well, number one, it starts with a commitment from coaching. That's Eli Drinkwitz and his staff. That first night we did our show, I brought that up with Howard. I said, Howard, we shouldn't worry about the line because last year, didn't we see the line get better every single game? And then that's when Howard gave us what he did. They're getting better every game. And I know this competition wasn't Kansas, but it's still a fairly decent program year in, year out with a lot of talent. Then you look at the run that Mr. Hardy busted off in the third quarter, almost a Heisman-esque when it was, I believe, 35-10. He busted through 4 or 5 different guys, still couldn't be brought down, gets the first down. You know what run I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
And the crowd's electric. His teammates are on fire. And it's like, oh my gosh, we're talking arguably now about a guy. Keep in mind, last week was outrun by his teammate. We're goo-goo and gaga about Jamal Roberts last week because he got the chances. This week, it's Ahmad Hardy looking like one of the top 3 running backs in America.
Well, and Vic, it's funny because you know what? Like, you're right. I mean, Jamal Roberts had the dagger play last week, and a guy who, Howard has talked. And by the way, Howard Richards will be joining us briefly when his post-game duties are over with the radio side of things. So we'll look forward to that. But, probably the quietest 200-yard games you could ever get out of a guy. Ahmad Hardy rushed for 100 against Central Arkansas, rushed for 100 against KU. It is very evident as this team sort of starts to coalesce that what we're going to see is a team that clearly wants to run the ball first and foremost, which is a great plan. It's how you win games. But Bo Perbula is a guy who I think who has shown that he's got the ability to stretch the defense and that sort of thing. But I mean, I don't think It's a good debate. And honestly, I'd like for the folks in the YouTube chat to jump in on this one. But I mean, who's a more important player to this offense this year between Bo Perbula and Ahmad Hardy? I mean,
I don't know.
you can
That's a great question.
you can make a really good case for both, right?
Well, it depends on your opponent. I mean, today, Bo did not have to do a lot to win. What he did in the first half was enough. That's why I looked at this game. It's like, okay, this was a first half game. What happened in the second half was it's just keeping your focus, which is a sign of a mature team. They did, which was good. They got better. When you have a team down, you step on the proverbial throat, and they did. That was great to see. When it comes to Bo, I mean, he didn't have to do much today. 174 yards, had a pick, which doesn't look great on the stats, but it's great when your quarterback, you're not relying and all the stress is on the quarterback, which I think you bring up a good point. Spread it around. Didn't have to rely on the receivers to come up with the big next. Let's rely on our O-line, D-line, and running backs. And my gosh, were they great. And by the way, we're 10, 15 minutes into the show. We haven't even talked about the defense again yet. And that's a very, very good sign. Loving it, my friend. Yeah. That's why 3 tests, 3 very, very, very good grades. And it sets us up for next week, which you've already alluded to.
He is former Tiger tight end and broadcaster Vic Faust. I'm Chris Pelikan. We'll be joined by Howard Richard later on in the program. And Vic, I wanted to ask you before we go to the defense, which again deserves a lot of credit for completely dominating in this thing today. I wanted kind of to get your take on whether or not you think that this is what we will see, what Drink wants this offense to be this year. So we see Kevin Coleman with 8 catches today, right? A few pop passes, that sort of thing. We obviously see again, if we just talk about the first half, it was basically more of a 60-40 run pass sort of split. Do you think if Eli Drinkwitz could draw up the right, the best way from an offensive standpoint that his team plays games this year? Is it this? Is it 60% of the run game? And that's some combination of Hardy and Roberts. And hey, I mean, Marquise Davis with his first 100-yard game as a true freshman. I really like the way he looks like when he runs the ball. Is it that? And then Perbula working in the pass, primarily maybe Kevin Coleman being a guy, the Brett Norfleet thing, boy, he had a touchdown and Perbula just sailed one today. But do you think that's sort of what Drink is going to want to see, or what we will see from this offense in the last 9 games of the season? More of that maybe 60-40 run pass blend. Perbula threw for over 300 in his first 2 games. I don't know. Do you think that Drink wants Perbula to be a 300-yard passer every game, or would he rather a majority of that heavy lifting be done by the guys in the backfield?
I'd love to hear him answer, but I think it would be the latter. It'd be the guys in the backfield. It would be the line. Ball control, easy, smash mouth football. If you can do that in the SEC in 2025, go for it. Do it. That's what I think is the winning recipe. Less chance for errors, not having to rely on your guys to pass block and go backwards to go forward. If you can do what you did today, yes. Can you do that in the SEC? I don't know. Can you do that with this schedule, which all of a sudden isn't necessarily some easy SEC schedule, as that a lot of people were trying to talk about, media types in the SEC. Missouri doesn't have some easy SEC schedule, in my humble opinion. They avoid some teams.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, come on. If you could stuff it down somebody's face over and over and over again with a 1-2 punch like they have, and then, oh yeah, let's use some play action. We got a quarterback that if we need to, he can run. We didn't have to have him do that today. Oh yeah, we could have him throw way down the field, but we didn't have to have him do a lot of that today. I mean, he made a terrific play when he was almost sacked on the throw to Roberts. Yep. He turned it into a big play. I mean, we know what he can do, but if you can line up and say, we're going to smash you for the next half, and then see if you want to come back in the second half and do it again as your body starts to tighten up and you start to feel some of those lumps. Yeah, I think that's what Eli would want.
Tigers win 52-10 over Louisiana. He is Vic Faust, former Tigers tight end and broadcaster. I am Chris Pelikan. Folks, the YouTube chat starting to get going, so we very much like that. And while you're in there, folks, please go down and hit that like and subscribe button and do us a solid here at STL Sports Central. So Greg's Favorites jumps in here and wants to throw in a comment, which I think has a lot of truth to it. He says, Bo's the key. The past couple of seasons, you've had playmakers, but not a QB that could get them the ball. And you know, I know you're a Brady Cook guy, and he has
disagree. It's all right.
he has, you know, and Brady did a nice job. Luther Burden had a 1,400-yard receiving season, that sort of thing. But I think that I don't know that the team is. It seems like they could be set up for a kind of balance that they've never had, you know. And I think that's such an interesting and exciting piece with this thing. And you know, Bo Prabula starts the game today with nine straight completions. You know,
yep.
And you know, I think he probably would like to erase maybe some of the second quarter with how he played, some of the decisions he make. But you know, again, that's not to that's just going to happen. But you know, I look at what Bo Prabula did today, and I think he's going to find some stuff, you know, in the film that he needs to be better at. But by the same token, I mean, geez, like again, you talk about just managing the game in a way that it needed to be managed today. And you know, I don't know. I mean, it goes back to our question again about Hardy versus Bo. Like, who is the more, and it feels like I would agree with your sentiment, Vic, that when you line up against South Carolina, maybe more so Alabama, maybe more so Texas A&M, it's going to be really hard. I mean, the way Ahmad Hardy runs is going to play so well in those games. Having said that, you aren't going to have 8-foot open holes, right? Hardy's not going to rush for 250 against those teams, because those teams are going to, I mean, they're obviously as stout on the lines as Mizzou could ever hope to be. So you do need, I mean, you're going to need Bo Prabula to make the plays at some point in time. And so again, maybe he is the difference. Maybe he's the one who's more important in this whole thing. It's really, really tough to say, but you know, I'm curious your thoughts on what you saw out of Prabula today. Cause again, the stats weren't there, missed a few throws. His interception was one I'm sure he wants back. Seems like he maybe didn't see that linebacker drifting out there a little bit. But, you know, what did you think about how he played?
He was good enough. He didn't dazzle. He set the bar pretty high last week. He set the bar pretty high the week before. We started to hear his name come into a little Heisman talk. But he didn't have to go out and do it. I was fine with Prabula today. The good thing is that there's more motivation for him to continue to get better. As coaches learn more about him and start to game plan for him as well. There was no tape on him before, really, nothing. And now there is. Now there's 3 games. And now you talk about it. We're going to find out about Bo. I thought he was fine. Nothing concerns me about Prabula today. You've got, for your 3 starters, SEC games in the next 4 games, you just talked about it. You got South Carolina ranked, Alabama ranked, Auburn ranked, and you know you got a little UMass game in there. We're going to know who Bo Prabula is. And I'm not saying, oh my God, if Missouri somehow loses to South Carolina, their season's over. I'm not going there. I know there are some people that think that's the make or break game. I don't believe so. It could certainly set up for an incredible season, but we're going to know more in that South Carolina game. And that's why I can't wait. Really, I can't wait. Must see TV tonight watching Vanderbilt, South Carolina, to find out what those 2 teams are both about. And yeah, I'm pulling for South Carolina. I want the outside shot that Game Day might consider us next week for ESPN. I want the coverage. We want the black and gold being span out around the country. So yeah, I'm fine with Prabula. We're going to know more. No reason to freak out yet. 3 of the next 4 against those top-notch teams.
Absolutely. He is Vic Faust. I'm Chris Pelikan. The Tigers win today 52-10. This is the Mizzou Central postgame show right here on STL Sports Central. Folks, jump into the comments section here on YouTube and let us know what you thought of today's game. So, yes, we are 20 minutes in, and we have not yet chatted about the defense. The defense, just so you know, Vic, let's see here. We have final yardage totals.
Yeah, there's
Mizzou,
one great stat.
606. Louisiana, 121, 84 of those coming on 1 running play. I mean, about as dominant defensively as you can be. I'm sure Drink will, you know, make those guys do up downs or whatever for giving up an 84-yarder. But by the same token, I mean, everything that you and I talked about the last 2 weeks, about them getting pushed,
right,
about them making it hard. I mean, that defensive line, the linebackers, the whole thing was in sync today. I mean, it was incredible.
Chris, 4. They give up 4 passing yards. 4
Incredible.
in 2025. 4 freaking yards. That's why I'm like, are you kidding me? I There's Division 2 teams that I think would maybe have a shot at getting more. Credit to Missouri's defense, giving up 4 yards. They put pressure on the quarterback. Their coverage was terrific. The linebackers were flying around. I mean, like I said, I dare I say the word perfect, because if you have one word that describes it, it was close. I mean, it was as good as I could have imagined a day to go with everything that you talked about. Yeah, 4 yards.
And you know what, the one thing too, Vic, and this is, I think in the first game we saw a very vanilla pass rush, right? With 4 only going,
Yeah.
holding lanes, and I think that's because Corey Batoon didn't want to show anything. The KU game, you and I basically think we decided, and I'm not sure if it was 100% true, but that the reason that the pass rush was so vanilla against KU was that they were worried that Jaden Daniels would take off, right? So they wanted to stay in those maintain those disciplined pass rush lanes. You saw a little more blitzing today.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you've got talent like Trotter, and you've got talent like Jacobs and Tristan Newsom and Nick Rodriguez, a linebacker, and a star,
I like him,
like Dalen Carnell, it feels like you're wasting some guys who really have some thump coming off in a blitz. And so, I think we saw a little bit more of the scheme today, and yeah, that's got to be a little bit terrifying for opponents to see, what this team they can stuff you playing just man up, straight 4 rush, no big deal. And then they can make it really complicated on you if they want to trick you up a little bit and send Khalil Jacobs up the middle and, that sort of thing. I mean, it just seems like we started to see a bit more defensively. And again, we've been oozing praise on this defense for the talent that Drinks brought in via the portal and recruiting. And I think it kind of showed its head today.
Yeah, I think I was counting like 25 guys, 25 different Tigers who had a tackle today. I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's stats all over the place, I mean, they're a defense that Drink talked earlier. He's like, I could play over 20 guys. I mean, I really could if these guys do what they're supposed to do. And you're going to need it. The other thing that we haven't mentioned yet, as far as I know, we didn't see any injuries, nothing major from that standpoint. You've got a rough team that's, for the most part, healthy going into South Carolina.
That's not a bad thing, huh?
No, tons of depth, offense and defense, a healthy team, 3-0, feeling good. Got to play early, as you said, sitting back now, eating, relaxing, feet up, and they get to watch South Carolina and Vanderbilt tonight. 2 opponents that'll be vital games on their schedule coming up in the weeks ahead. That's why I think they feel pretty good. And credit to the coaching staff. You brought it up, Chris, for having this team ready to play early on a hot day at home after Kansas before a big game, not letting down and showing their maturity. Also in the second half, just coming up and really just stepping down on that neck.
Tigers were 27.5-point favorites in this game, which again, it's a giant spread. There's no two ways about that. But I mean, obviously an easy cover.
You wouldn't have bet it. I would have. You wouldn't have.
No, I really
would have taken the points, I bet.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I am a big points guy. I'm telling you, Vic, like this is textbook letdown. Matt, like you mentioned, massive emotional win against Kansas. Okay, next week, potential game day, potential portal into this great future of a season. And then you got lowly, stinky Louisiana rolling in town. Hey, by the way, they won 10 games last year, and like you said, brought back a lot of the players that made it. That, I mean, this thing had every earmark of a letdown. And not only did the team not let down, I mean, they played one of the crispest, best games I've seen a Mizzou team play ever.
And the other thing too is what people. I mean, I was at a game today. I was what my son's had his high school game. They played today on a turf on a Saturday. They moved their game up to 10 a.m. from when it was supposed to be in the afternoon. They eventually called that high school football game in the third quarter because the temperature reached 92. It was like a Misha rule. So they canceled the game in the third quarter. I'm like, okay. Missouri, I think I heard Chris Gervino report on radio that the turf in the fourth quarter or third quarter was 117. You put pads on and a helmet and you go out there and you do that. And the effort just seemed like it was there all day. Very, very workmanlike.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He is Vic Faust. I'm Chris Pelikan. And now we are going to go from two's a company to three's a crowd and join the brains of the operation. Howard Richards, former Tigers offensive lineman and radio analyst for the show. Howard, glad to have you on board as always. And your thoughts, man. I mean, just again, Vic used the perfect word. I guess Drink probably had about an 80-yard run that he'd like to wipe off the board. But I mean, if you're trying to find flaws in the way this team played today, you're gonna be picking through with a fine-tooth comb, because this was just a purely dominant effort by the Tigers today.
It was indeed. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Hey Howard,
good to see you, my friend.
Yeah. Listen, this team came out like gangbusters. I think this is the third consecutive game where Mizzou has scored on the opening drive. Now, I don't remember this happening in 15 years that I've been doing games. I don't remember. It may have, but for some reason it's sticking out to me. And, that first quarter, the first probably, I'd say up until 5 minutes left in the second quarter, it was total domination. And, I mean, I was just wondering, thinking to myself, how many points will this team score? Because Louisiana just couldn't stop Mizzou offensively. The Tigers, could pretty much do whatever they wanted to do, especially running the football. Now, in the passing game, what I think, if I recall correctly, they started blitzing when we showed an empty backfield, and there were a couple that Beulah, he was able to get out of one, I think, where the guy blitzed front side. He saw him coming, but still was able to get the ball out of his hands into Jamal Roberts. Then they started blitzing it to the backside, and there were a couple that were missed. And then one or two right up the gut where there was no one there to block. So in that case, when you've got an empty backfield, your offensive line, two things have to happen. Either your offensive line has to slide block and block that inside blitzer, leave someone open on the outside, or your quarterback's got to see it and just get rid of the football right away and not just sit there and take a sack. So those are the things I'm sure that South Carolina will see on tape, and we'll try to implement the same things to see if Mizzou will do anything to try to correct that, because those are major offensive faux pas that they're going to have to get corrected, because other teams will see it and they'll say, well, Missouri's not very good in this area. We need to utilize that.
I was curious, and to sort of further that question a little bit about the way Beulah played today. The guy obviously doesn't have a ton of collegiate experience under his belt, right? The gadget plays and the way he was worked in at Penn State, 2 games as a starter here at Mizzou. Do you think, is this something where what we've seen on film the first 2, now 3 games, do you think opposing defenses look at him and say, we can scheme around, we can trick him from a scheme standpoint? He's not, this isn't a guy with 40 starts under his belt, that sort of thing. Or do you think you saw enough in the first 3 games, with the exception of the plays you just mentioned, to sit there and say that an opposing defensive coordinator might not, feel real confident about trying to trick him up, because he has been pretty poised and pretty good over the course of the first 3 games?
I think he has shown the ability to sort of, see situations and be able to figure it out. Now, not perfect, but what quarterback is. I mean, right. Every quarterback will get sacked. Every quarterback will throw an interception, especially when a ball gets tipped. Where he can be a little bit better is seeing some of those free blitzers and get rid of the ball more quickly, or decide he's going to figure out, how do I get out of this, tuck it, run it, so that I don't get hit in the backfield. By the same token, maybe you want to utilize a little less empty backfield, or have someone up front along your offensive line. There needs to be some sort of signal to your line that, if anyone shows blitz, pre-snap especially, we got to slide block it. But it's tougher when they don't show that blitzer from the very beginning. But if he comes up the middle and there's empty backfield, quarterbacks, that's his responsibility to get rid of it.
100%. He is Howard Richards, the former Tigers All-American and current color analyst on the radio broadcast, also joined by Vic Faust, former Tigers tight end and broadcaster. And Howard, I mean, Ahmad Hardy is obviously the name of the day today with what he did. Clearly the offensive line took it up to another level, in terms of just huge holes for Hardy to run through. Having said that, Vic and I both were chatting about this. The ones that impressed me weren't the ones where he busted through and got 40 yards on a big open hole. I mean, there was a lot of contact with him early on, and he turned a 1-yard run into a 7-yard run, an 8-yard run. Again, I mentioned the term, you hear coaches talk about, he runs behind his pads so well. I mean, boy, I think he is the prototypical example. I mean, this is a guy who, again, he had 2 very quiet 100-yard games to start his career at Mizzou. Nothing quiet about today. I mean, your thoughts on what you saw from Ahmad Hardy today?
I use the term amazing because, first of all, go back to last year, 1,000 plus yards after contact.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of that today. There's a lot of contact. I mean, he's taking a beating. I say this: a lot of guys were hitting.
Defenders are taking the beatings.
Yeah, not more glancing blows than anything. It's like, okay, bring it on. No real clean hits on him, and he's able to. He's like Houdini. He's escaping these tacklers and just continuing to go and go and go. Little bit of Houdini, little bit of Energizer Bunny, because I think as the game goes later, he seems to get stronger. But just that he has that innate ability that stuff you can't teach. How to slip blocks, how to see. His vision's really good because I think he can anticipate and see where the defenders are coming that are trying to hit him and either accelerate or spin or whatever the case may be. But he's impressive. Mike and I were talking, just looking at the running backs that have been on the Tigers roster during the Drinkwitz era, like Roundtree, Tyler Beatty, Cody Schrader, who, led the SEC in rushing 2 years ago. Yeah. This was Mike's comment. Maybe the best he's seen since Devin West. That's saying a lot. And we're only 3 games in. We've only seen him for 3 games in the black and gold.
And we were talking about Jamal last week. How great he was.
And Jamal, but look at this other kid also, Marquise Davis.
Yes,
113.
I know.
113 yards. I mean, just look at his running style. So, listen, the ability for this coaching staff to find these types of guys in the portal or recruiting, but also how well coached they are by Curtis Looper, who to me does a fantastic job with the running backs group. And and I'm not saying just this year, over the course of 5 years, 6 years now that he's been here, we see that type of production from his running backs. I think it's impressive to have a guy like Loop on the staff, and I've watched him in action, and it's impressive. But what's more impressive is that each year the guys that have come and gone, they seem to leave a little bit of that legacy for the new guys in the room, and they seem to absorb all those key coaching points, and they get it done on the field. So certainly you got to have an offensive line that's getting it done up front. But, man, I mean, just looking at Ahmad Hardy, he does a lot by himself.
Well, and you just mentioned it, the offensive line. And I and Vic had talked for the first couple of weeks about wanting to see more out of this group, right? More push, more consistent push. I mean, I'm going to guess that nobody on the team is watching our show. But having said that, they responded. I mean, that was a dominant effort today by the offensive line. And Vic mentioned this. I know you had said the same thing. You talked about Coach Looper. Brandon Jones just does a fantastic job with this line group, and they have improved markedly from week 1 to week 3. And you kind of look at it and you sort of say the sky's the limit with this group because they were just really on top of it. Great push all day. I mean, your thoughts on what you saw from the offensive line today?
Yeah, they were called out, for not their effort, but for their execution last week. Really, the last couple of weeks. Last week was better than the first week, playing against a more formidable opponent in the Kansas Jayhawks. But today was, listen, I didn't expect this. I did not expect the total dominance against a team that won 10 games last year. Now, granted, The Raging Cajuns lost a lot of players, but it was impressive. I mean, now you know from a confidence standpoint what these guys are capable of doing week in and week out if they focus and if they do execute. Just very, very few weaknesses. You know, I don't expect any game to be perfect, but I expect if you make a mistake, I don't want to see the same mistake over and over again. Remember a few years ago, they had an offensive lineman. I can't think of what his name was, but I mean, every game this kid jumped off sides. We just haven't seen that. But that's a mindset I think that Brandon Jones has brought to this team. And I remember when he started here, he came after spring ball, and, you know, there was so much concern about how well the offensive line played. Yet Cody Schrader goes and leads the SEC in rushing. So listen, there's no coincidence. This guy can flat out coach, but he's got players that I think are suited to play in this outside zone running scheme. And again, they've accepted being challenged. Hey, how do you really want to be? How good do you want to be? You know, how do you want to represent this institution? You know, based on what you did last week or the week before? Or do you want to come out and be dominant and be recognized for being a dominant team that executes, you know, for 4 quarters? I think the latter. And today, I think they showed exactly what they're capable of doing.
I agree.
Yeah, I was just saying, very curious, Howard. You know, Vic and I just had a discussion, and I'd love your thoughts on it. And Vic, jump in on this one as well. Take your side of it. I feel like we're starting to see the offense sort of come together in a way of what we might see from them over the course of the final 9 games. You see Kevin Coleman with 8 catches today, right? You see a team basically where, if we just talk about the first half and not the let's run out the clock second half, it was basically a 60-40 run to pass split. It brings up the question in my, you know, and I asked Vic this, and he had a good thought, and I'd be curious yours. Who is more important to this offense this year, Ahmad Hardy or Bo Prabula? Because it feels like, you know, and I know, you know, we can go and take an old Tony La Russa term and say tied for first, but, you know, I look at it and you sit there and say, it seems like, all things being equal, that run game needs to be the thing that paces this engine. But by the same token, again, you can't rely on 600 yards of offense with 400 on the ground on a week-to-week basis, and you're going to need Bo Prabula to make some plays. So in your estimation, you know, what do you think do you think we're seeing what the offense is going to look like moving forward, A, and B, you know, if we have to do the sports talk radio question of who's more important to the team, I'd be curious your thoughts on it.
I know you guys are expecting me to say the offensive line. But I will say right now, I think it's a toss-up between Hardy and Prabula. And naturally, the success of both of those players depends on good offensive line play. That's a given. And we talked about the effectiveness of Bo Prabula, how fast he gets the ball out of his hands, how quickly he makes decisions. You know, how when he has that knack to get out of those situations when he feels the rush. And again, it's not going to be perfect, but still, I mean, he made a good decision on I think it was really a designed run on a sort of a quarterback draw, if you will, early in the game, maybe his first touchdown. But he read the offensive tackle's block, read Caden Green's block to perfection. Obviously, the guy came upfield, so he came inside of him. If that edge rusher had gone inside, Caden's going to drive him inside. Prabula will, you know, dip it and cut it back outside. Either way, I think it was, you know, the play was designed to utilize his quickness and his decision-making. Give a little credit to Louisiana for some of the schemes. Again, some of those blitzes were really good, especially, again, as I mentioned earlier, empty backfields when he couldn't do anything. They have to do better, and I'm sure they will do better because we'll see those blitzes down the road by somebody. They'll remember, keep them in the back pocket. If you don't see it next week, you'll see it the week after. But Missouri's got to be able to block those situations or do something to counter the bad results that we saw today.
Well, Howard, we know you got to get on the road, my friend. Thank you so much for your time, as always. Thank you for the great analysis. Very much appreciate you being a part of the program today, and we will look forward to seeing you, hopefully after a win over South Carolina next week. After
See you next week, buddy.
Whole 9 yards and all that stuff. So very excited about next week, but we will plan on seeing you after our game next week, my friend.
Indeed. I just want to add this one point. I don't know if you guys mentioned this, but if 123 total yards by Louisiana, take away that 84-yard touchdown run, and it's 33 total yards, and they didn't get a third down conversion until late in the fourth quarter.
4 passing yards, Howard.
So
4.
give credit. So 3 rushing yards last week, 4 passing yards this week. Give credit to the defense, because I think the defense stepped it up also. They were rendered the Raging Cajuns largely ineffective today. So now and listen, these are FBS programs. Both Kansas last week, Louisiana this week. Again, Louisiana won 10 games last year, so they're not a bottom-dwelling program.
Nope.
I think it just shows the potential of what this team is capable of doing if they focus and execute. Again, it's not going to be perfection, but we know what they're capable of doing now, and glad to see it on display. Glad to see, or looking forward to seeing how well we improve from today until facing a formidable opponent in South Carolina.
Very well said, my friend. Safe travels back. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right. He is Howard Richards. He is the former Tiger All-American and current color analyst on the radio broadcasts, and always bringing the heat. He always says it exactly like it is, my friend.
Well, he does. And the other thing, Chris, I more and more credit to you for this in regards to bringing up the fact that, and we didn't even talk about the mature level of this team, but they're getting to that maturity level when Howard was talking about, no penalties. And despite the heat, despite what's going on, being a unit that you can count on, that's not going to make a big mistake, that's not going to get some stupid 15-yard penalty and put your team in trouble. Not going to have a letdown. I just looked at the scoreboard. Missouri State is beating SMU, getting ready to go into half, 10-7. Those games happen. Louisiana Monroe has a lot more talent than Missouri State, right, I would say. So Missouri doesn't let that happen. If
you don't show up to play at this point in time, you will lose games. That's just all there is to it. 1,000% on the maturity. 1,000%. So again, there's so little to be concerned about. Having said that, this is the great challenge of football, Vic. You played it at a significantly higher level than I ever did. But the point is that if you are not focused, laser focused every single week, you will beat yourself. And again, for all of the reasons that Mizzou could have beaten themselves today and even made this a closer game than needed to be, not a single one of them crept up. You've got to feel extremely heartened by that. So no two ways about that. Go ahead, bud.
No, and the best part about it, you're 3-0, you're feeling good. You can throw the ball, you can run the ball, you can play defense. There is one little thing though.
Don't even bring up the K word. Is that what you're saying?
The KICK?
Yep. Hey, you know what?
You've got that it has to be brought up. They've got to figure it out. Let's just hope that today's miss, push, whatever, you got it out of the system, because you can't keep doing that in those tight games.
You're 100% right that there will be a time where all of us will sit there and rue the day that Blake Craig decided to try to tackle somebody. And,
we already have.
I know. And it has not beaten us just yet. But, again, this is the nature of this thing, that they will need their kicker at some point in time. And you know what? We'll give Robbie Meyer the benefit of the doubt, but again, you have to understand what you're working with here, right? This is a guy who just didn't, he's a walk-on kicker. He was not expecting to have to do this at this point in time. His learning curve is steep. So, again, I agree with you that at some point, it might be at the end of a half, it might be at the end of the game, and he's got to make a 40-yard field goal, which, for Blake Craig would have probably been, as automatic as they get at this point in time. And, so again, it is what it is. And they're gonna have to live with this. But boy, that's one way to not make it matter, to play like they did on offense and defense today. No two ways about that.
Yeah, because South Carolina, if they beat Vanderbilt tonight, and I think they will, I do. I mean, their upsets can happen. They're going to come into Missouri next week and be a favorite. They'll be a favorite against Missouri. They will be.
Think so.
Yeah, I do. It may not be big, but I think they'll be a favorite. So now we're talking about everything shifting dramatically, where Missouri's no longer playing at home as the favorite. They'd be playing at home as the underdog against South Carolina under the lights, national televised audience, and who knows, maybe even ESPN Game Day there as well. So the stakes definitely go up next week.
And I'll bet that Drink is praying they are an underdog, because that is his shtick. That's what he hammers, disrespect, and it works. It clearly works. All right, speaking of betting, right? This is hey, Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State. And you can sign up today. New Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets when we launch on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when we go live. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when we officially go live in Missouri, you will be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st. That is code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offers. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. This is the Mizzou Central Postgame Show right here on STL Sports Central. He is Vic Faust. I'm Chris Pelikan. Tigers win 52-10. They cover that 27.5-point spread rather easily today. And we just had the view from the press box with Howard Richards. Let's go ahead and get it from the sidelines. Kylie Hansen is going to jump on right now. There she is, just getting out of the press conference, I believe, with Coach Drink.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Fantastic.
Hi, Kaylee.
Fantastic. So tell us, what did you learn after the Tigers' 42-point victory today over Louisiana from the coach and anyone else you spoke to?
I think we learned a lot. First of all, we learned that it was they had a little thing measuring the temperature. I forgot what they're called, whatever. But and it said 176 degrees down on the field at one point. It was so hot. I can't even explain to you. Yeah, Ahmad Hardy had a career high. He's doing well. I think you guys have pretty much covered all of it. The offense is looking to be. I like the question of who's more important, Bo Pribula or Ahmad Hardy, and it's seeming to come together. And like you guys were saying with South Carolina, they've got a big game next week. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. I think that also the Heat kind of took them out nearing the end of the first half. I think that when Bo couldn't complete a single pass there, that was a little rough. And then obviously, they were trying to run down the clock in the second half, but it was beyond hot. I think I could also count on my hands how many people were in the stands by the end of the fourth quarter. So, I mean, it was very, very hot, a very fun game, though. It seemed to all come together. Not much really went wrong besides that one, obviously the pick and then the long touchdown that they ran. But it was fun. It was hot, and they got the job done at least.
Yeah, Kylie, curious, you were down there, from TV, you could tell that there was not a lot of people there for obvious reasons. Tell us about the vibe. I mean, again, I feel like this is just another reason that you got to give the Tigers a lot of credit. I mean, this was not the most raucous crowd that they've had this year, and yet they still brought a ton of energy. Your thoughts on kind of how things were in the building from an energy standpoint, vibe standpoint?
Yeah, I thought the energy was good. Obviously, people started to weed out near the end, which is fine. Even Eli Drinkwitz has to say, like, they need to keep showing, the fans need to keep showing up like they did against KU. They need to show up like they did for South Carolina. He even said, it's fine that they left. I get it. But the vibes were so high. It's just, and someone even asked about home game advantage now at this point. And something he said, he's like, I never even thought about being like home game and the advantage of it. But I guess, yeah, it is starting to somewhat make a difference. The vibes are good. I think people are excited for Mizzou football now, something that's taken a long time for Eli Drinkwitz to maneuver and to build this program. Like 2023 went well last year, and then now looks like they've got a pretty good team with a pretty good quarterback, and then obviously a few good wide receivers and a running back who just had a career high today. So it's going pretty well. The vibes are very high.
Kylie, did you get a chance to chat with anybody from the team or hear anything from Coach Drink's press conference?
I kind of touched on what did he say? I think they just got to work on offensive line stuff, keep the communication high, and then I think something that people were worried about was their secondary, but they only held them to about 4 passing yards. I think that's right, or not very many passing yards. So the secondary stepped up, and it was a good game. But yeah, I mean the press conference was pretty short. I think everyone was hot, and Drink kind of just touched on the fans needing to show up for South Carolina, and that there's only early in the season still. It's not much to get excited about as they open conference play here next week. So,
well, Kylie, the sun looks really hot from my basement right now where you're standing. So, I'm sweating a little bit already, and that's I'm very good at that. Talking about our talents, I'm very good at sweating. So, anyway, well, Kylie, hey, thank you so much for your time. Go get cool somewhere, please. Get something to drink.
Yes.
Get in the air conditioning, and we appreciate you checking in from Columbia. Again, as the Tigers win 52-10. Kylie, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
So again, Tigers win 52-10 over Louisiana. And Vic, we're starting to kind of wind things down a little bit here, but I just wanted to kind of sum up, or give me your thoughts on state of the program at the moment. Right, again, here we are, 3-0, going into the South Carolina game. There's been tons to be excited about from what we've seen. Right, a few things here and there to be concerned about, but what I would really say is, I did, just to kind of almost go into left field a little bit, but Howard mentioned Caden Green today. Caden Green had a terrible game against Central Arkansas. And you know who we haven't heard his name called on anything silly in the last 2 games? Yeah. Caden Green. I mean, the guy is obviously talented. There's not any doubt about that. Very, very highly thought of coming out of high school. Starts as a freshman at guard at Oklahoma, comes in. And
we'll be playing in the NFL.
We'll be playing in the NFL. And then on top of that, too, maybe not even the most fair situation where they ask him 2 weeks before the season starts to kick out to left tackle.
Nope.
And you know what? Caden Green has played 2 really good games.
Yeah.
And I mean, that kid deserves a ton of credit just for, kind of rallying the troops, so to speak, in his own mind, his own abilities. And again, I think he's just a microcosm of this team, but to the larger picture and the question, how do you feel about this team today? What do you think you need to see next week? And, we keep talking about, I know we've thrown out the playoff is where this team should be shooting for. Do you still feel good about that? Give me the Vic Faust 30,000-foot view on the Mizzou program as the Tigers improved to 3-0 today.
I don't think it could be as good as it is right now, 3 games into the season. Look at the facilities. Look around. Look at the commitment from major corporations from a financial standpoint. Mike Kelly has told me that local support, maybe not the massive donors, needs to be able to step up for Missouri. Maybe local businesses, local people getting behind the smaller donations that you'll see from other schools within the SEC programs. You asked me state of the program. Money is a key factor in how a program goes. You have to have money if you're going to keep up with the Joneses, if you're going to get recruits. Missouri's throwing a lot of money out there. And just like a good baseball GM, NFL GM, you have a certain amount of money to work with. How good are you with the money that you're using? And Missouri's doing very well in the players that they're getting. We're seeing it with their transfers. Their transfer portal, when it comes to this program, as good as any right now. The fans showing up, the state of the program, as good as you could ask for. The depth of the team, top notch. They've got great depth on the defense, getting better on offense. 3 solid wins. People are excited about Missouri football, not only in St. Louis, but around the state and Tiger fans around the country. That's where we are right now. I'm going to get chills talking about where Missouri sits by going to the SEC. And who knows in this new football playoff system if the SEC is still going to be this dominant conference so much more than everybody else. But I'll tell you this much, it's helped Missouri, and Missouri has used it. Where Drink has this team right now, just think back 5 years ago where we were. And I mean, people are actually, we have fans, you have your old negative Nelly Tiger fans. They're changing. They are. You go to your chat rooms. Oh my God, drink this, drink that, Brabula. I'm like, I think we're as good as we can be right now. What does it set up for next week? If you lay an egg against South Carolina, yeah, that's bad. but I don't see this team doing it. I don't. I'm not saying they're going to go out and win against a team that I think will be favored over them, but I bet it'll be close. I bet it'll be tight. I don't think it's a must win, but if you win next week, it just serves another notice to all those people down below us in the South that, yeah, Missouri's the real deal. And I think this team is and is going to be. And we're not going anywhere. Missouri's not going anywhere. Drink is a solid coach. We have solid people in place, and the recruiting is as good as it's ever been. They don't even have to go out and do the recruiting that they did before. People are coming to Missouri. So that's where I feel the state of the program is, my friend.
I'm not even going to bring it up because I got about 10 texts this week about everyone thinking Billy Napier's getting fired. Are they coming after Drink? Are they coming after Drink? And you know what the funny thing is Vic,
good. Let them.
Well, and you know what? But this is the truth. At this point in time, I don't know that the Florida job is more attractive than the Mizzou job to a guy like Drink. You know, I'm not talking about program tradition. I'm not talking about program, but I don't know that Florida could pay Drink more than he makes here. And if you're Drink, why would you jump into that mess when you've got a great thing going? I don't know.
Drink's probably like, don't bring me up with Florida. I've got lots of things going on here in Columbia. I'm excited. I know you're excited. Tiger Nation should be excited. We have an opportunity for ESPN Game Day to show up. And even if they don't, it still doesn't matter. It'll still be one of the marquee matchups next week. And that's because of what Missouri, what Drinkwitz, what Laird Veach is continuing right now with this program, what the donors are doing. The donors putting that money in there. And if anybody's wondering, if you're a alumni, I mean, even a little helps. You get thousands of people who are able to donate a little. That goes a long way in helping us keep up with the Joneses in the SEC. And if there was ever a time to get behind a team in our state, it's now with Missouri, because it's a damn good time and it's good entertainment and you're getting some good football.
That North End Zone project should be ready for the start of the 2026 season.
Man, that gets me excited too.
That's just another great part of what's going on with that program. Eli Drinkwitz deserves a ton of credit for what he has done, the way he has worked this new system. And I couldn't agree more. And, you know, what we have right now as we sit here today is what looks to be maybe as deep of a team as there's ever been, at least in the last 30, 40 years at Mizzou. And there is talent abound. There is seemingly no limit to what this team might be able to achieve. They have got us all in a tizzy at this point in time, and there's no two ways about that. And I really, I think next week could be a coming out party for this team on the national stage, like no one is ready for. Because I think, you know, you look at this team that was picked to finish 14th in the big SEC.
Oh my God, those guys make me sick.
You know,
oh my gosh,
and it's crazy, you know. And so here we go. Like no one's thought this team was anything special.
We need to go to SEC Media Days next year and just take it over. I'll bring the bullhorn and I will be in their faces about all this BS if Missouri goes on to have a good year.
I'll sweat all over them. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So, well, Vic, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Again, great state of the program synopsis, but you're on your part there. The Tigers 3-0 after a 52-10, darn near perfect, if we're just not going to say perfect, win over Louisiana today. Next week, it is South Carolina in the Battle of Columbia in Columbia, Missouri, game that very well likely could have College Game Day there in the morning. We definitely have a 6 or a 6:30 p.m. kickoff, so either an ESPN game or an ABC game. So unlike today, you won't have any trouble finding that game next week. So he is Vic Faust, the former Tiger tight end and broadcaster. I'm Chris Pelikan. This has been the Mizzou Central postgame show right here on STL Sports Central. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Got it, buddy. Have a great week. Go Tigers.